Hey there, welcome to Business and Finance at this hour of the day here on Echo Television International. I am Rachel Tanzi. With fuel subsidy removal at the corner, marketers are desperately in need of CBN's help through loans. Now, subsidy removal is no longer news to us and nothing the common man is not aware of in Nigeria, and is fast approaching. However, we have marketers at the other side alongside consumers, and at this moment marketers are desperately in need of CBN's help concerning loans, and these loans are to be directed towards fuel stations, more of them reconstructing the old ones, because we can say that there are no scarcity of fuel station in my opinion, and in your locality you can be attesting to that truly we have a lot of fuel station. However, not all are functional, and if the NNPCL promises to come through with the availability of petrol, that is, we'll no longer be having scarcity of petroleum, then we might be facing the situation where the fuel station won't be enough. However, it's not because of scarcity that marketers are in need of these loans from the CBN, but that they need to take care of over 30,000 either abundant fuel station or not well functioning fuel station. As it is, when the subsidy removal takes place, there is a law that needs to be put on ground and in place to make sure that Nigerians not only have fuel station available, but that no consumer will have the issue or the challenge that pumps are not working well or the standard of services at fuel station are not good enough. Money will be at stakes here, and we will have a lot of angry and complaining Nigerians. Now, various stakeholders in the oil and gas sector have urged operators to take advantage of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN recent 250 billion interventions to boost the much needed infrastructure in the sector. So what is in place is that the CBN has a loan in place. We have 250 billion intervention in place for these marketers, and now they are being urged to go and take advantage. As the fuel subsidy is coming, it means making petrol available. Marketers, we need external help and loans from the CBN. With 208 trillion standard cubic feet of gas reserves, Nigeria, which should ordinarily be a leader in the gas supply business worldwide, has been struggling to even meet domestic needs due to paucity of the needed infrastructure for production and transportation. The CBN has introduced the 250 billion facilities to help stimulate investment in the gas value chain, to improve private financing access, boost investment, and develop gas-based industries. So there is a solution out there for marketers. And even shortly, we are going to look at how the federal government are coming into the aid of not just marketers, but even consumers. We will see that the federal government have started putting down a structure to help also the consumers. However, for this loan, 250 intervention from the CBN is for marketers to be able to help the fuel availability when subsidy removal has been put in place. Now we're having that our Nigerian export has gone high to over 20%, and we are hitting revenues in trillions of naira. There are about over 7.55 trillion naira. Now, what are we exporting to other African countries? Now, I would like us to focus on the non-oil export, because this is where we need to put in more effort as an economy, as a country, as we can see that, you know what, the oil has been going up and down. OPEC is trying to see that fuel price is going high as it has been falling, but until we reach to the side where we can have oil boom to the revenue from oil, we have to look at other export. And so far, so good. we have been recording successes that our export of non-oil products to other African countries alone have gone high. Now, some of the things that we export aside from oil products, we have cocoa, we have palm kernel, we have cotton and fertilizers. Now, there is a development that has been put in place to make sure that this growth is going to be high, and it is by the President Muhammadu Buhari. Early this year, President Muhammadu Buhari has said in the African Continental Free Trade Agreement reform will increase Nigeria's non-oil export to other African countries by more than 15%. So we have a reformation that has come called the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and it is to boost our export to other African countries by 15%. Now, Buhari listed the export goods to include textile, wearing apparel, leather, wood and paper materials, electronics, vehicles, and transport equipment and machineries for the industrial sectors. Remember that we have spoken about the Ajakuta steel rolling mills where we can produce steel as a country. Now, where we have such industry functioning, then for sure we can be able to export goods such as vehicles and transport equipment and machineries, because these are products that rely a lot on steel, metals, and aluminium. Now, others are fishery, meat, poultry, milk and dairy product, rice and other cereals, plant-based fibers and other crops, fruits, vegetables, nuts, vegetables and other food products, beverages and tobacco, as well as livestock for agricultural and food sectors. Buhari, who was represented by the Minister of State for Transportation, said Nigeria's export would increase significantly to other African sub-regions outside West Africa. So we are not looking only to boosting our trade within West Africa, as it looks as that is the major trading front for us at the moment. However, we are looking forward to extending beyond and above West Africa to countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, Malawi, Morocco, Mozambique, Namibia, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, Egypt, Cameroon, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. Now, these are all countries that are not in West Africa. These are not neighboring countries like the Cameroon, the Togo, the Chad, the Niger, and all of that. It means we have already been trading with these countries. But for us to see this much percentage, 15% of growth and a continuous revenue, we have to extend our export fronts beyond West African countries, and then we can go further to other Central African countries, and we can go to the south and even to the east of Africa. Now, in as much as this is no doubt for sure the way forward to boost, I like to say we can do more with our economy, and one of the way forward is exploring more cash crops. Now, we have seen a mention of vegetables, of fruits and poultry products and dairy products and all of that. But then the way forward also is finished products. As we're exploring these cash crops, we also need to look at finished goods. That is, we will not only be exporting rubber, but the finished product of what rubber can produce. We will not be only exporting cocoa beans, but what finished product comes out of cocoa beans. Now, instead of focusing only on these raw materials, but we will move a step forward to finished product. Now, this finished product will give us the room to not only export within Africa, but even to continents around us and countries. We could go as far as Europe, we could go as far as North America and South America and every other country that would love to benefit from our finished goods because of its originality and quality. And we talked about marketers, oil marketers in need of loans from the CBN, and because there is an intervention from the CBN of 250 billion. However, let's look at how the federal government are not also neglecting consumers of oil. And we have gotten an $800 million loan from the central bank for palliative for subsidy removal. Now, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, revealed to State House correspondents that the federal government has secured $800 million from the World Bank to provide post-petroleum subsidy palliative for over 50 million Nigerians ahead of June 2023. Now, one thing that we cannot overemphasize is the hardship that the removal of fuel subsidy is going to bring to the common man in Nigeria. Everybody will not find it easy. However, not only marketers are going to have some benefit coming from the federal government, but even consumers. The objective of the project is to expand coverage of shock-responsive safety network among the poor and vulnerable and strengthen Nigerians' national safety net delivery system till June 30th of 2024. Now, according to the agreement, the project aims to provide cash transfer to poor and vulnerable people in both rural and urban areas in Nigeria in response to economic shocks for at least 2 years. So we can see that this $800 million palliative is going far. It's been extended up to 2 years to ease the hardship on Nigerians, because the Minister of Finance, the federal government, have sat and have seen that the fuel subsidy removal is truly going to be hard on Nigerians. Let's remember that we are buying fuel or petrol per liter at almost about 300 naira, but with the fuel subsidy removal, we are looking at nothing less than 500 to 750, and some prediction have taken it above and over 750. Now, this is not going to be easy for the common man. It's not going to be easy for you and I out there when it comes to fuel consumption, as the transport business is going to be duly affected, and we know how key it is. Industries are going to suffer. Small and large scale, medium businesses are going to suffer, because we need machines to run. We need many other things to run in our businesses, in our offices, in our organizations. However, the government have seen it fit that this palliative will go a long way, a direct credit into the pockets of the poor and masses in Nigeria. Inasmuch as this is a good and welcome initiative, and the federal government has looked into the situation of the poor in the country, the question still remains, do we need a palliative for subsidy removal? And with that question, I will leave us to wonder and ponder, because this 800 million is added to our debt profile from the World Bank, and we're expected to pay this in 25 years. Still on the debt profile, we have added 800 million subsidy palliative debt to pay World Bank in 25 years. Inasmuch as it looks like the federal government has us in mind, which for sure they do, this 800 million is still adding to the debt profile we already have, as this is a loan that we have to pay back to the World Bank in 25 years. Now, the next administration, after the regime of the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, will begin the repayment of the 800 million loan approved by the World Bank as subsidy removal. So inasmuch as this might look like and feel like a welcome idea, it means that Nigerians have just added another $800 million on her debt profile. Post-restructuring will cost 800 million, says the NPA boss, as facility is decaying. The managing director of the Nigerian Port Authority, Mohammed Bello Koko, has explained why the agency may be spending up to 800 million for the reconstruction of some of the country's seaport. However, he made it clear that nothing is falling apart yet, but giving it 5 to 10 years, there will be nothing much left of most of the ports in Nigeria. And now this decaying of the port system is making it vulnerable that investment will not be as much as it is. Now, there's already a lot of money that has been sunk into the seaport and ports all across Nigeria. However, they need reconstructing. Some have not been used for a while because they are not up to standard, and some need maintenance. And he is bringing this to light. The earlier, the better, as some of the equipment and the facilities are still holding in place, but it's only a matter of time. He's clearly giving 5 to 10 years before we start seeing a lot of decay that cannot be fixed. The point here is to make sure that the port doesn't get to this, level at all. Now, concerning generating revenue, we would like to give a thumbs up to the customs and the FIRS for generating trillions of naira last year in 2022. Revenue collection by two key agencies of the federal government, the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the Nigerian Customs Service, rose to 12.7 trillion in 2022, representing a 46.8% increase from 8.7 trillion collected in 2022. So we are seeing a massive increase, not only from 2021, but down to 2022. Now, these are agencies that help the government in collection of revenue from different sources, including value-added tax, oil revenue, and company income tax, among others. This is just a few among others that the customs and the Federal Inland Revenue Service have been tasked with the responsibility of making sure that organizations, businesses, and individuals pay tax at every level. I am a taxpayer, you are a taxpayer, and they have been saddled with the responsibility of making sure that the country generates a lot of revenue, and they have done that. And we have seen in the past month where the Ministry of Finance have disbursed these very same revenues and tax that have been generated down to the federal government, to the state government, and to the local government area. So you know that your tax is what is being used to build Nigeria, and your tax is still needed to grow Nigeria to where it's expected. Now, CBN releases a draft for dormant accounts management. Now, the CBN have made it clear that there are accounts that have been dormant for a very, very long time. They have been dormant for a very long period of time, and this could be as a result of many, many issues. Now, there are accounts that have been inactive, and there are accounts that are dormant. These are accounts that haven't had any transaction for over 1 to 3 years. However, this is mainly going to be affecting the accounts that have been dormant for over 10 years. This could mean that either the account owners no longer have access to it, either by death or by missing out key information, vital information that might help that person get access into the bank. And I would like to read a little more information for you to know if you're affected concerning this dormant bank. Now, the reason why the CBN is making this available is to give us time. If you have an account that it's not dormant but has been inactive, just go to the bank and do something about it, because you might be affected. If you have an account that you still have plans of using it and you haven't for over a year, 3 years, these are the kinds of accounts that the CBN sees as dormant, and if you have any money in it, it might be affected. So this management and this draft is to help you not to lose any money or any vital thing that you might save in the bank. A circular accompanying the exposure draft stated that the guideline was in response to requests from banks and other stakeholders for the CBN to clarify the procedures for the management of dormant and inactive accounts by banks in the country. Citing provisions in the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act on unclaimed funds or abandoned property in financial institutions under the regulatory purview of the CBN, the circular stated that the exposure drive supersedes the regulator's 2015 guideline in the management of dormant accounts and other unclaimed balances by banks and other financial institutions in Nigeria. Under the draft guideline, a dormant account is defined as a bank account that has remained inactive for a period of at least 1 year, while an inactive account refers to an account that has no customer initiated transaction for a period of 6 months to 11 months. The draft guideline further stated that eligible accounts are dormant accounts balance that have remained with the FIs for a period of 10 years and beyond, adding that eligible dormant accounts, unclaimed balances, and other financial assets include current savings and term deposits in local currency, domiciliary accounts, deposits towards the purchase of shares and mutual investment, prepaid card accounts and wallet, proceed of uncleared and unpresented financial instruments belonging to customers or non-customers of FIs, and unclaimed salaries and wages, commission, and bonuses. So if you fall under any of these category, you need to run to the bank and see. Now, inactive accounts, clearly stated here, are banks that there are accounts that there have been no transaction for 6 to 11 months. However, the moment it gets to 12 months, which means a year of inactivity on this account, the CBN is declaring that account as dormant, or wages or commission that have not been processed, or any transaction even on your card that hasn't been processed for this long period of time. The CBN is going to see that as a dormant account, and you might lose access to that account or to any funds or any belonging in such account. So it's needed for you to do something quickly about it. You have heard this information from the CBN. Let it not be that you didn't know or you were not informed by the CBN. If you're watching me right now, go to your banks and make sure that you are not going to lose any vital property in the bank because your account haven't been active for as long as 1 year, because the CBN are going to automatically declare your account as dormant, and whatever is in that account, the CBN are going to claim it back to themselves. And this is how far we are going today on Business and Finance. Keep a date with me next time. Goodbye.